too smooth, that mud talking to have your ass in a wreck. Who's signing your check? Pussy better do what he says. We shutting down shows. Ain't gotta put no price in your head. Man, I'm coming for your tongue for all that shit that you said.
If you ever find a channel like mine, tell me that you'll watch it. Orale. As you can tell by that thumbnail right there, yes, today on Gunner's Profiles, we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about some group that not a lot of people know about. They have an extensive history. They've been doing it for several years. Very clandestine group. Shh, we don't speak on them much, but they're out there. We're talking about the Nueva Flores gang. Orale. This organization, this group, they're out there, man. Their GP, their general population, they're doing their thing, and not a lot of people know about them. So I'm going to get straight to it. We're going to get straight to the point. We're going to profile this group organization, and I'm going to give you guys what I know. So trip out, the Nueva Flor, right? Traditionally, when it came to the Nuestra Familia, the NF, a very strong organization that continues to be that. You're always going to have defectors or people that are not agreeing with exactly what's going on. And back in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s, there was a lot of inner turmoil going on when it came to the Nuestra Familia, okay? And a lot of vatos were falling off or dropping out. Now, not like it is nowadays where vatos are falling off daily, so it's getting the hourly, every minute, every second. But back then, there were people that were defecting, meaning that they were not feeling the agenda, they were not feeling the progression, they were not feeling the way that the movement was going or where it was heading to. So these vatos fell off, and initially they were called hermits. There was a group of NF dropouts that were known as hermits, okay? And they were to be hit, they were to be found out, they were to be regulated on as soon as possible. And if you ever came in contact with one of these vatos, a hermit, which was basically an NF dropout, an original dropout, they were to be you were supposed to get them. They were supposed to be gotten, right? Gotten, getting. Call it how you see it, right? Anyways, these vatos were few and far between. There wasn't too many NF hermits, but the ones that were very aggressive individuals. So people knew that if they made that next move on them, they had to watch out, because these vatos weren't going out like that. These vatos would still stand their ground. They still were true believers in themselves, and they still were dangerous individuals. They had came through the wars, the 60s, the 70s, going into the 80s, and they were killers, man. True killers. So if people ever came across them, they were told to be cautious, but deal with them as swiftly and as quietly as possible. So the hermits were around back in them days. Of course, there was hermits also on the southern side of things, and they were handling their business as they should, how they were doing it. I can't speak on their politics. I don't know. I don't know exactly the get down, but I know the getting down was real, definitely. As it is up north, as it is down south, it's all good in the hood. Now, what happened is a group sprang from the ashes. About the mid-80s, a group started to be heard of. And I remember first hearing about this group from my jefito. My jefito had did time in Tehachapi. He had did time at that time in Old Folsom. And my jefito gets out of prison, and he's talking to a couple of his camaradas, a couple of his homeboys. Or I'm on the porch, I'm a little kid, I'm like this. You know, I'm trying to hear, I'm trying to listen. I like these old school gang stories. When these veteranos would get together, yeah, about to like this, he's on that good shit, right? Okay. You know, Demo, right? Then you had my fucking dad, who was all high power, and a couple of the other individuals, my Theo Joe, he was right there like, shit, homie, you know what I mean? It's norte on mine. They would tell their war stories, and I would kick on back as a little kid. And one of the stories my dad started to talk about was the Nueva Flor, the new flowers, right? And what had happened was this group, they were basically the offshoot of the hermits. They were actually a group of people that were actually made NF members, Nuestra Familia, that decided that if for no other reason they should do their own thing. Now, some of them were in bad standings because they put themselves in that position. Some of them were faulty calls, they felt. Some of them were vatos that just initially took into this group because they wanted to try something a little bit different. Whatever the case may be, this group sprang from the ashes in the mid-80s, calling themselves Nueva Flor, the new flowers. And the reason they called them the new flowers is because they wanted to adopt the same letras, the NF that a lot of them had tattooed on them, and change the meaning and the concept behind it. Now, they still believed in the norteño cause. They still believed in the people. They still believed in a lot of the same things that the NF had put out there, the dictations for the norteños. They still believed in that. Only they didn't want to answer to the Nuestra Familia. You know, such is life. A lot of people feel they don't want or have to answer to the political makeup of what someone has deemed they have to. So I'm scared, but let me tell you, when you're living that life, when you're part of a gang, when you're part of a group organization, you gonna mind somebody. Oh yes, vato. You're definitely gonna mind somebody, and that's just the way it is. Such is life. And you have to be able to grasp that. You have to be able to internalize that. You have to be able to live with that. That yes, another man is going to tell you what to do. Is it a bad thing, Charlie? When you go to McDonald's at work, Baboso, do you not do what your manager says? Hey, we need 3 Egg McMuffins, bitch. Right? Order coming right up. Right? Yes, you're always gonna. That's life. There's always jefitos, jefes, and there's always gonna be the workers, the manpower, and that's the way I looked at it. You know, I didn't look at it any type of way. I didn't say, Sasuke, hey, watch out. I ain't trying to hear what another man tell me what to do. In life, everybody wants to be that boss. Everybody wants to be that leader. But not everyone can be. Not everyone has leadership qualities. Not everyone has the makeup to do that. So these Nueva Flor were comprised of a lot of vatos, not only in bad standings, but vatos who had these leadership qualities and skills that wanted to put those into effect, but were not being able to have their words being heard or felt because they weren't in that position. So of course, you look at this, if you're still part of an organization, as bandito acts, as traitors, you know, as cowardice acts, leaving or defecting from a group to which you're from to form another group. Vatos nowadays call that transforming, right? Whatever the case may be, these vatos decided to start this new group called Nueva Flor. Now they started to become a lot deeper in the 80s, the late 80s. And like I said, my father was talking about them. I was listening. I didn't know what the hell he was. I didn't even know what the Nuestra Familia was at that time. So it was just cool to hear a good war story too. But I remember he looked concerned. He was concerned because he had a couple homeboys from Modesto, my dad being from Modesto, the south side of Modesto, the deep, that had went that route. And he was like, this is the group that's starting to pose a potential threat to what we got going on. Now, at that time, I didn't know that my dad, no, he wasn't an NF member. No, I'm not going to sit here and bullshit you guys. But he was righteously behind the movement when it came to the Norte. He was righteously right there and had a lot of good camaradas, a lot of good homeboys, solid brothers that still rocked with them, and he rocked with them. Period. Plain and simple. When you were living that life, when you were from up north, man, you might not have necessarily been part of the organization, but you definitely were a loyalist and a sympathizer. And my dad definitely was a sympathizer to the Norte. That's first and foremost. So anyways, I hear him talking about this group, and it springs an interest in me because I'm like, man, any group that could go stand on their 10, shit, I'm with that. Little did I know that this group was an outcasted group being looked at as degenerates or dropouts. I didn't know this. Shit, you guys probably didn't even know this. But they started to get deeper in the 80s. And where they were getting deeper at was cities like Visalia, Tulare. They were real thick in Tulare County. I know a lot about those right now from Tulare County. They're like, oh, bitch, shit, they ain't from... No, they were very deep in the late 80s, early 90s in Tulare County. This is one of their strongholds. This is where a lot of Nueva Flor were pushing their agenda. Now, one thing I could say about this group, having looked at them quite extensively, and this is the reason why I wanted to profile them, they're different. They don't consider themselves non-active or SNY. They consider themselves highly active, highly aggressive, highly with the business, only with a different agenda and a whole different namesake, okay? So the Nueva Flor are nothing like Northern Riders. These vatos actually, right now, as we speak, today, yes, this day right here, have a yarda established, a general population yarda. It's looked at kind of like a 50-50 yard, but it really isn't. It's actually an active yard in Salinas Valley, where, yes, the Nueva Flor are rocking right there simultaneously side by side with Fresno Bulldogs. You know what I mean? Perros, stand up. Yes, they are rocking with the Bulldogs. Now, there's not very many of them on this yard, but the ones that are on this yard are looked at as real righteous individuals because they're down to handle their business. This is a fact. Okay, I've talked to Nueva Flor on that yard, and they told me personally, you know, we ain't never hung shit up. We're just going to go by the rules and regulations that we see fit and do what we want to do. And I can't be mad at you, but at the same time, I understand your reasoning and the way you're thinking, what you're thinking. So it's a group that's been around. It's a group that has a lot of roots in a lot of cities up north. Shit, so let's get quietly as it's kept. I'm going to give you guys a news flash right here. Breaking news. There are some Nueva Flor down south. Now, of course, they're not out there displaying colors. This group is not about colors. They're not about red. They're not about blue. They're not about gangbanging on the streets. They're an organization. They're a criminal organization that has come together with one common goal. And that common goal is to safely secure themselves from active groups that want to get with their business and get with their program. And they will take the offensive, not only the defensive. And that's what a lot of these groups are about. Now, you got a lot of these SNY dropout groups that come up every day and shut down every day, like GBG, and then you got Northern Riders, and then you got 2-5, whatever you have, right? They're different. Okay, this group is very different. This is a group that, yes, was derived from the Nuestra Familia, but has decided that if for no other reason, they should take a step on back and do their own thing. Now, you say to yourself, well, so how can they do that? Well, they did it. I don't know. To what degree of doing it, I can't call it. But they have done it, and they've been around for a long time. Now, the Nueva Flor do not have a constitution. They do not have rules and regulations when it comes to acting a certain way. But what they do have, and for what I'm being told, is they do still carry themselves like old school pintos, old school convicts. When you hit their yards that they are on, and yes, they are on certain yardas. I've met a couple of Nueva Flor in my lifetime, real ones. They still will check your paperwork. You still have to have righteous charges. They ain't fucking with no weirdos or no chomos. They're not doing any of that. That's not part of the makeup of a real convict. A real convict ain't gonna rock with the weirdo. They are not on SNY yards. If you ever see a Nueva Flor on a SNY yard, he is a dropout Nueva Flor. They consider them guys far and few between and no good. You're gonna run into dropouts everywhere. People drop out of a group, then drop out of a group, then drop out of a group, right? It just happens, you know. Sasuke, this ain't the one for me. Sasuke, ultimately, they end up in GBG with a beep on their mouth, and they're like, oh, this is the one for me. Orale, Spencer, right? Do your thing. At the end of the day, this is a group that's been known to handle their business. And they're looked at with a lot of respect. Now, of course, the Nuestra Familia has no respect for any degenerates or anybody who defects from the cause. And that's righteous. I understand that totally. Blood in, blood out. Sasuke, if you turn traitor, you will die for that. That's understandable, man. That's traditionally what it's been like, and it's going to continue to be like that. And that's quite understandable, man. If you defect on your homeboys, if you turn your back on your camaradas, Sasuke, you ain't got shit coming but a palo. Toma, right? But if you're a group that still has respect and has that lightweight love, and people see you as a threat, Sasuke, they're going to think twice before they make that next move, their best move, because you pose a threat to what they got going on. Sasuke, watch out. Hey, fuck these vatos, pero, you know what I mean? We got to watch out. One thing about the Nueva Flor is they're blenders. They definitely can blend in. You never know when you have one in your midst or amongst you. And that's why they have been able to fly under the radar for several years. Now, the administration, of course, the authorities, the placas, have recognized this group as a security threat group. They are recognized. They were considered one of the first dropout Norteño gangs to spring up from the NF, kind of to branch off. But they have never been considered dropouts for people that know. I don't consider this group a dropout. I consider this group an active group, you know, that have a different mindset and a different way of thinking. Now, I'm not here to promote being a Nueva Flor or none of that, man, because I don't know the fucking whole concept of what they got going on and the reasoning behind it. But I do know, man, that they are highly aggressive and they are on general population. See, there's a big stigma there. People think automatically if you're not part of the big four, being the BGF, the NF, the MA, or the AB, that obviously, man, you're considered a dropout gang. Or the Perros, you know, a security threat group. But that is not the case, man. There are several other individual groups that consider themselves still active. They still function the same way. They're still going to get up in the morning, roll their mattress, do their burpees, oh my, and do what they have to do to maintain on that yard to build that soldado in them. So that way when guerra happens, when war happens, they're ready. Okay? Just because you're not part of these big four doesn't mean that you're a nobody. Now, of course, traditionally over time, these big four groups have ran the pintas. The pintas belong to them. And that's a motherfucking fact. And if you try to deny that, Sasuke, you'd be a liar and a fat mouth. And I don't like liars and fat mouths, right? Especially motherfuckers with a fat mouth. But I will tell you this. The Nueva Flor have been around since the 80s. Very clandestine group. Not a lot of people know about them. Not a lot of people have ever met Vatos. I have. Now, there's a Vato that's well known, a new flower. His name's Fast Eddie. Okay, he has a quite extensive history when it comes to this whole Norte get down, the Nuestra Familia, the Nuestra Raza, everything. And he was a very dangerous individual and someone that people knew that if you came in contact with him, he didn't like you. He was adamant about his stance against the NF, and he was a prime target. He's always been a prime target because He was a vato that was known for poisoning individuals against the NF. He was a vato that slandered this group. He was a vato that was highly sought after. He was a trophy. I remember even being told about him back in the days. If you ever come in contact with this vato named Fast Eddie, he's to be hit indubitably immediately, right? So we were always in the back of my mind. It was always there. If I ever run into a vato named Fast Eddie, I'm gonna hit him fast, Eddie, right? Straight up. It was going to happen. But this guy's known, and a story, man, that was told, it was told by Boxer on Paradigm Media News, shout out. It was also told by Flaco as well as Rojo. Is a story about being in the shoe. Okay, then I'm going to tell you another story about Fast Eddie you just didn't know about. Bang, bang. But being in the shoe, and he was actually smart enough and played the dummy role and utilized his skills as being a new flower to start being cool with a certain NF member named Lencho Guzman. Like those of you that don't know and haven't heard the story about Lencho, he's a very shady character, very shy. I'm the general, a very shisty character out of the city of Sanjo that not a lot of people liked, but a lot of people did respect at one point in time. You know, he was a capitan. He was out there doing his thing, running regiments in the city of Sanjo. But anyways, they find themselves as vecinos. For those of you that don't know what vecino means, it means neighbors in the shoe. And they start conversating and shooting pictures and letters and fucking magazines back and forth. Now, Lencho should have known at this point in time that he's not to even acknowledge a dropout. He's not to even acknowledge someone from the other side that poses a threat to his safety and security. Now, of course, it's different with North and South. You're able to acknowledge the camaradas, the vatos that are in there doing it, and it's a respect thing because you know that you guys are on that same wavelength. But when it comes to someone like Fast Eddie, he already knows that this guy's a target. And he's not supposed to. Now, if you ask Lencho, of course, he's going to say, Sasuke, I was just trying to play him out of pocket. But really, who got played out of pocket? I'm going to tell you right now. So as Lencho was about to be released, because he was just doing a violation from the shoe, Fast Eddie, being the fucking character that he is, calls him to the door. Come here, puta. Let me get at you, right? Hey, I got something for you. And when fucking Lencho puts his face to the door, this vato slices him with the razor. Now, it's a dull razor, so it doesn't do its intended purpose, but it does enough to open him. And of course, Lencho jumps, right? And it is what it is. He gets out, and of course, he makes up a story about how the white boys got off on him, and that's how he got scratched, because he knows he got played out of pocket by someone, a degenerate, a considered degenerate, that he wasn't supposed to be even talking to. Now, that's a word to the wise. If you're out there and you're active, man, you're supposed to act like dropouts don't exist, humps. You're not even supposed to pay attention to them. You're not supposed to watch their YouTube channels. You're not supposed to be fucking talking shit. You're not supposed to be doing any of that. Any of that will put you in a bad predicament with your own people. I'm just saying, man. It's a fact. Anyways, this vato Fast Eddie, it was another notch in his belt as being a Nueva Flores and pushing that agenda. He was able to hit a target. Okay, so these vatos are active. These vatos are actively progressing and trying to hit their targets. How deep they are, how aggressive this movement is, if it's still rocking like that, I can tell you right now today, yes, that movement is still alive. There still are Nueva Flores out there. They are still doing their thing. But I will also say this, they're not as deep as they once were. It's kind of a dying breed. Those that are true believers in that cause will truly believe, and those that are not won't. They're not taking anyone else into the fold, man, unless these are really trusted individuals. What they got going on, like I said, I don't know. I've talked to several of them. I've chopped it up. I've met one on the calles. They had a big old flor. He was a Nueva Flor. A lot of them get flowers tattooed on their face, on their chin. They cover up a lot of the traditional Norte tattoos. A lot of them do keep the NF for Nueva Flor. But it was just a trip meeting this guy and hearing his philosophy on why they were doing what they're doing. Now, I understand. He was like, ain't no man going to tell me what to do. So I was like, wait up, that's not my güero. Oh, you want me to go? What do you want from Jack in the Box? 10 tacos? Got you. Wait up, hold up. I don't get it, right? But it be like that sometimes. Anyways, with that being said, I just wanted to kind of a lightweight profile the group that started in the 80s, a very clandestine group that's around, man. Keep your eyes peeled, keep your eyes open. When it comes to this North shit, there's a lot of different people that are able to be chameleons and go within, man. You don't never know who you're around. Sasuke, this is my homeboy. Is that right? Hey, you know your homeboy's in Nueva Flor, right? Nah, Charlie, bro. You know what I mean? What is that, right? A lot of people don't even know what it is, and I wanted to profile and put it out there. Like I said, respects to every group, every organization doing their thing, man. I'm not going to fucking put one over the other. I respect all the brown men pushing. I respect all men, human race pushing. But at the same time, man, make sure that your awareness is up. I push the positivity when it comes to awareness. Positively be aware, because because you know what time it is. Anyways, with that being said, I hope that you move fast with a purpose. I hope that you get everything that you want coming to you. Remember, at the end of the day, it's about staying aware and going out there and getting it for your family. No one's going to do it for you. If you think this monkey on the shirt is going to do it for you, he's being drunk, homie, and he's laughing at your ass. Only you can do it for the gente, for the brown people, man. Raza unida. We need to come together as a gente, man. All these different organizations, these different groups, ¿sabes qué? There's way too many, man. Why can't we just all get along at the end of the day? Maybe it will happen. I don't know. Maybe not in my lifetime, but ¿sabes qué? Fuck. It all might be ending soon anyways. The gun. Bang, bang. If you liked, oh, well, Spencer, I forgot my whole little shit. Please hit that like and subscribe. If not, you can hit that thumbs down, heavy as the head that wears the crown. We're going to continue right here on Profiles. I talk fast, but I move fast with a purpose. It's called hustling. Bang, bang.